Welcome to a special edition of Garnet Spirits Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Lynn, and it's a special edition because we're going to be talking about Taylor Swift's new album, The Tortured Poets Department. So just like we've been doing with the Emerald Tablets, we're going to go line by line of each song of this album, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, understand the themes of the album, why she wrote it, and looking at her birth chart and how everything really matches up quite nicely. But if you look it up online, Taylor Swift birth chart, it'll be wrong. And I'll explain that as we go on throughout the episode. So if you're interested in talking about Taylor Swift, stay tuned. So just like how we do it with the Emerald Tablets, we're going to go line by line. So we're starting off with Fortnight, which features Post Malone. I was supposed to be sent away, but they forgot to come and get me. I was a functioning alcoholic till nobody noticed my new aesthetic. All of this to say, I hope you're okay, but you're the reason. And no one's here to blame, but what about your quiet treason? So what the song is about a whirlwind romance that only lasted 2 weeks. So that's what a fortnight means. That it's a 2-week long thing, a little situationship, probably like a summer fling type thing. And then she had to leave. So that's like why they ended. But I guess no one ever came for her. So then, yeah. So all this to say, I hope you're okay, but you're the reason. Like, you're the reason why I went crazy, basically. And no one's here to blame, but what about your quiet treason? So like, he did something that made her need to leave or like to go crazy, or like something happened where we talk about like this treason, like somebody betrayed her. And it's interesting that she uses the word quiet treason, because throughout the album she juxtaposes quiet with screaming. And this is in the song Cassandra at the end of the album, has them both together, but throughout the entire album she has the quiet and the screaming going back and forth between them. So here's the first time that we see quiet. So it's a quiet treason, so something that was like a whisper, something that the outside world may not have seen as a betrayal, but she feels it as a betrayal. And throughout the whole album we're talking about freedom versus constraint. And it's so wild to me because when I watched the Eras tour on Disney Plus, I was thinking, wow, like she is so in the moment. She is loving her life. She is the embodiment of freedom. And then come to find out that that's all wrong. So it's like, first of all, how does somebody do that? And second of all, why, if everybody's thinking that you're happy and all of this, like, why did she feel the need to write this, like to be able to tell the truth, and say like, no, I'm actually not happy. And I think that this album also like humbled her in a way where we see her as this pop star, but she's also just a normal human being that is going through the same issues as the rest of us. That she still doesn't feel free. She still feels constrained. She still, yeah. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. Moving on. And for a fortnight there, we were forever run into you sometimes. Oh, there we were forever run into you sometimes. Ask about the weather. Now you're in my backyard, turned into good neighbors. Your wife waters flowers, I want to kill her. That's the other thing about this album, is that she has a lot of killing, dying, like a lot of these kinds of words, a lot of haunting, ghosts, like a lot of death imagery throughout the entire album. And again, here's the first example of it, that she's not happy. That she wants to take this drastic action of killing somebody because she's not happy. All my mornings are Mondays, stuck in an endless February. Somebody on Threads said that this is the first time that she's used February, and that she has used every single month throughout her discography. I said that so wrong, but throughout all of her songs, throughout all the albums. Discography. And that this is the first time that she did February, but that she still has yet to use October in a song. But I just thought, like, the imagery of this is just so cool. All of my mornings are Monday stuck in an endless February. Because February is, like, right before spring. So it's like, I can't wait to get out of this. I can't wait to get out of this darkness and finally bloom, but I'm stuck. I took a miracle move-on drug. The effects were temporary. So that, like, she was trying to get over him. So something happened between this relationship. Like, she didn't want it to end, and he didn't end it the way, like, a normal relationship ends, like a breakup or like a fizzle. Like, something happened where there was, like, some kind of betrayal, and she's trying to move on, but she can't, because then she goes, and I love you, it's ruining my life. I love you, it's ruining my life. I touched you for only a fortnight. I touched you, but I touched you. So just, like, having this connection with somebody, wanting them, but you can't have them because they're married. And you're married too. But you guys are next door neighbors, so that's weird. And for a fortnight there, we were forever, run into you sometimes, ask about the weather, now you're in my backyard, turn into good neighbors. Oh, so it's the same one as before. Okay. So then the next time that the chorus comes along, she says, and for a fortnight there we were, run into you sometimes, comment on my sweater, now you're at the mailbox, turned into good neighbors. So I wonder, like, why the change? So first it was, now you're in my backyard, and now it's, now you're at the mailbox. So there's a difference between somebody, like, in your rear view mirror. It kind of reminds me of the song Breathe, when she's saying that, like, she's driving away and she could see him in the rear view mirror, like, he's behind her, he's in the past. But now it switches. Now you're at the mailbox. So it could be, like, an allusion to DMs, that now, like, you're in my present. Like, now there's a possibility of communication through the mailbox. Turn into good neighbors. My husband is cheating. I want to kill him. So throughout, like I was talking about, she feels caged. She feels there's a lot of constraints upon her. And so in this first song, I said that she feels caged in this loveless marriage. And that's why she's reacting in this visceral way of wanting to kill his wife and her husband so that they could be together. So that's the whole point of I love you, it's ruining my life. So she says that a couple of times again. And then at the end, this is the part that Post Malone sings. I thought of calling you, but you won't pick up. Another fortnight lost in America. Move to Florida, buy the car you want, but it won't start up till you touch me. And then when she sings it, it goes till I touch you. But it's interesting that they use Florida, because obviously she has a song named Florida. And in Florida, it's that she's escaping the law in Texas, and she's, like, had to move to Florida. So maybe Fortnite takes place in Texas, and so they're trying to move to Florida. But I think the whole point of having Post Malone here at the end is saying, like, he feels the same way too, that he's sorry for whatever quiet treason that he committed, and that he wants her too. So yeah, that's the first song. Then moving on to the second song, we'll do that after the break. The Tortured Poets Department is talking about a caging within one's own mind. And what's interesting is that this song isn't about herself. I would say this is about, like, it is about another person. Some may say that it's Joe, some may say whoever, but it's about a different person. It's not about her. So it says, you left your typewriter at my apartment, straight from the Tortured Poets Department. I think some things I never say, like who uses typewriters anyway? but you're in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. But I've seen this episode, and I still love the show. Who else is going to decode you? Who else decodes you? My bad, I put in other words. So here, I wanted to focus on this line of self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. So this is like that caging, that the person doesn't want to put spikes down in the road, and the road would be like the path of the relationship. The person doesn't want to do this, but when they get into this mood, they feel like they have no choice. And when you have no choice, that's the lack of freedom, that's the constraint, that's the feeling of being caged in. But what she's saying is that she's seen this episode. This has come up again and again, and she doesn't care. Put all the spikes on the road you want. I have a bulldozer. I can just go over it. We can make this together, because who else decodes you? I'm the only one that knows you inside and out, that I'm the only one that's gonna love you when you are self-sabotaging and throwing spikes in the road. So then she moves on to say, and who's gonna hold you like me? Who's going to know you if not me? I laughed in your face and said, you're not Dylan Thomas. I'm not Patti Smith. This ain't the Chelsea Hotel. We're modern idiots. And so before we get into the illusion of Dylan and Patti, I want to focus on the I laughed in your face, because here she's doing it to the person, but throughout the rest of the album, it's that she's getting laughed at, and that she's the butt of the joke, and that she's the one that feels like the victim when this is happening. So it's interesting that when she first introduces this laughter kind of concept in this way, where she's the one that's laughing at him. Okay, so moving on to the Dylan Thomas and Patti Smith and the Chelsea Hotel. So the Chelsea Hotel is a hotel in New York that is famous for its artistic and literary associations. And so like a bunch of people would go there, like Bob Dylan, Patti Smith, Dylan Thomas, Leonard Cohen. And so it's been referenced in literature, music, and pop culture throughout the years, but it was supposed to be this like what if you went there, like that means like you made it, you know? And so Dylan Thomas is a Welsh poet and writer known for his vivid and imaginative use of language, particularly in his poems and radio broadcasts. And Patti Smith is a singer-songwriter, poet, and visual artist known for her influence on the punk rock movement and her poetic lyrics. And so this is what I love so much about this album in particular, is that this album is bridging the pop culture kind of like lyrics. Like there were so many albums that came out in the last few months, and I was so excited for each of them, and they all disappointed me. Like they were still good, like there were some good songs in all of the ones that I listened to, but I wanted this. Like I wanted them to get deep, and I felt like it was just so shallow. And I think that a lot of the songs that are out today are so shallow that you can't even really consider them poetry. But this album, the Torture Poets Department, is. And so I feel like Taylor is bridging the gap between pop culture and academia. And that's what I intend to do as well. So I thought this was absolutely incredible. And so here, that's why she's laughing in his face and saying like, we're just modern idiots. Like we're just putting things together. Like this is how the world sees us, as little pop stars, just doing our little pop thing, and not really delving into the subject matter, into the whole point of poetry. By the way, this is what my dissertation and stuff, my research is looking at how we either connect or categorize in each of the disciplines. So in the arts, the humanities, the natural sciences, social sciences, we either connect with them or we categorize them. And most of the time they're categorized. So a song by the first person that I thought of was Lil Peep, so I'm going to say that. A song by Lil Peep would not be considered poetry or in any way connected to academia. And that's what Taylor's making fun at here, that people don't see songwriting as poetry anymore, and that's what she intends to change. So then she goes on to say, who's gonna hold you like me? Nobody, no fucking body, nobody. You smoked and ate 7 bars of chocolate. We declare Charlie Puth should be a bigger artist. I scratch your head, you fall asleep like a tattooed golden retriever. So this is like juxtaposing the first verse where she's saying that he's in self-sabotage mode, throwing spikes down on the road. And here, now he's a tattooed golden retriever. So she knows both sides of him. That's why she's saying, like, who else is going to know these two sides of you and gonna love you for all of your sides? Nobody, no fucking buddy. But you awaken with dread, pounding nails in your head. But I've read this one where you come undone. I chose this cyclone with you. So this is the whole part again where pounding nails into your head, that you feel so trapped in this that you just like, you need to just feel. But that she wants to do it with him. She doesn't want him to have to go through it alone. She wants to be there for him. And who's going to hold you like me? Who's going to know you like me? And then she goes on to the chorus again. But what I was saying with that is that that's what this whole album is about, with the like making this into actual poetry and being able to understand the emotions better. And Taylor even said this in her song This Love. She says that she spent her whole life trying to understand what love is and how to describe it, how to understand it better. How to categorize it. And I think that that's what poetry does, and that's what she's doing here. Then we move on to, I don't know if this is another verse or a bridge, but I'll just read it. Sometimes I wonder if you're going to screw this up with me, but you told Lucy you'd kill yourself if I ever leave. And I had said that to Jack about you, so I felt seen. Everyone we know understands why it's meant to be. So again, with that killing, so that kind of death reference, but she's saying that everybody knows that we belong together, and even though there are some troubles in between us, we're never going to leave each other because we can't live without each other. And in this context, it sounds like it's like a trauma bond where you'd kill yourself if I ever leave, and that's good because I said the same thing to Jack. So that's like why it gets like trauma bondy. Then moving on, because we're crazy, so tell me, who's gonna know me? At dinner, you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on. It's so hard not to sing it. People would put wedding rings on, and that's the closest I've come to my heart exploding. So, yeah, it's just the whole thing of they belong together, and she just really wants to make this work. You left your typewriter at my apartment, straight from the Tortured Poets department. Who else decodes you? All right, moving on to number 3. Okay, so track 3 is called My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. Oh, here we go again, the voices in his head. So we knew about these voices in his head, the mental health issues from the Tortured Poets department. The next line goes, call the rain to end our days of wild. And it's interesting that she uses wild here because throughout the entire album, she references this wild nature that she wants to call back. And Dr. Estes wrote a book about the wild women, or women who run with wolves, or something along those lines, where she's asking Dr. Estes is asking women to get back to their wild nature. But with Taylor Swift being a Sagittarius sun, Sagittariuses are known for their wild nature. And so it's interesting that here she's like really playing it up. I haven't noticed wild that much in her other songs other than Wildest Dreams, but that it's supposed to be a dream. It's not supposed to be in the real life. So here she's saying that we had our days of wild, but then you called in the rain. So we had our flame. So also Sagittarius says they are a fire sign and they're known for the wild fireness. So Aries would be the spark, Leo would be the flame, and Sagittarius is the wildfire. Then in How Did It End? The second line goes, he was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman. So outdoorsman connotes this wildness, this adventurous kind of person, again with the Sagittarius sun, whereas he was a hothouse flower. And I looked up what hothouse meant, and it meant like something delicate. So like maybe a flower that can only be grown in a greenhouse type of thing. But it was interesting that she used the word hot, because hot is the flame, the fire, all of that. And here she's saying that he called in the rain to end it. The sickest army doll purchased at the mall. Rivulets descend my plastic smile. So maybe that he got a new toy, or that she was the sickest army doll that was purchased at the mall. But the rivulets, this means like little streams of water coming down, descending upon her plastic smile, that she, even though it's ending and even though it hurts her, she has no choice but to smile because she's made of plastic. Maybe in the relationship, maybe she feels this throughout her entire life, that she always just has to put on this show. Throughout the rest of the album, she talks about this concept of fakeness, and I think that we first see it here by her calling herself a toy, her calling herself this fake plasticky thing that she has to put on this persona when it's not what she really feels on the inside. So again, going back to those feelings of being trapped or caged. Then she goes on to say, but you should have seen him when he first got me. So he was so happy when he first got me. Everything was great when he first got me. But now he's called in the rain to end our days of wild. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. I'm the queen of sandcastles he destroys. And again, with like this destruction, these words of destruction. So first we had like killing in the first and second tracks. And here in the third, we have breaks, destroys, tortured heart, broken parts, we'll see later on, dead of night. So I'm going to reread this chorus. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. I'm the queen of sandcastles he destroys. 'Cause it fit too right, puzzle pieces in the dead of night. I should have known it was a matter of time. Oh, oh, my boy only breaks his favorite toys. So that they fit together, I put an arrow going up for the second track, the Tortured Poets department, where she talks about how they belong together. Here it is, that everyone we know understands why it's meant to be. Because we're crazy and we love each other. And you put on this, you put my middle finger, the ring on my middle finger on my ring finger, and it's like this whole thing. But it's interesting that she used the word too right. It's not just we fit right together, we belong together. It's we fit too right. Like we were too perfect, where it had to be shiny and plastic and fake. The second verse goes, there was a litany of reasons why. We could have played for keeps this time. I know I'm just repeating myself. Put me back on my shelf. But first, pull the string, and I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me. He loves me. So again, she's the doll. There are a million reasons why they should have worked out, because they did fit right. they were puzzle pieces in the dead of night that fit together perfectly. And so we could have played for keeps this time. I'm just repeating myself. Put me back on my shelf, but first pull the string. So it's like one of those dolls where you pull the string in the back and then it speaks. And I'll tell you that he runs because he loves me. So it's like the rationalization that she has to go through. And she has to keep saying this to herself over and over and over again. So it's just like those dolls, you know, they don't say anything else. They just say the same thing over and over and over again. But here she's saying it over and over and over again so that she can believe it. That he's only breaking me because he loves me. He's only running away because he loves me. And that's why I can stay. And I think that a lot of women say this to themselves in unhappy relationships, because to leave a relationship, it means that your whole life has to change, because in order to be in a relationship, you have to revolve your life around that person. Then we move on. Because you should have seen him when he first saw me. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. And then it goes on to the chorus. But here I wrote that she's chasing the high. That she's like trying to remember back at the beginning when it was actually good and staying there. So it's like the first, I said chasing the high, like in this kind of way, but it also means like with drugs, you know, like when you do it the first time, nothing's ever going to hit the time that you did it the first time. So you keep doing it, trying to recreate that first time that you fell in love with it. And this could be with drugs. This could be with alcohol. This could be with anything, you know. This could be the first time you played soccer and you just keep coming back to it to remember why you loved it in the first place. Okay, so the chorus actually changes in the second time. This is what I love about Taylor Swift too. Normally people just say the same thing over and over and over again, but she switches it up, which I really love. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. I'm the queen of sandcastles he destroys. 'Cause I knew too much. There was danger in the heat of my touch. Oh my gosh. So that's like how we started over here, right? With the flame that is put out by his rain. He rained on her parade. He rained all over their relationship so that the flame could no longer exist. He was like a firefighter putting out the flame. And here she says, I knew too much. There was danger in the heat of my touch. He saw forever, so he smashed it up. My boy only breaks his favorite toys. Oh my gosh. So it was heating up too much. He got scared. He had to cool it off with the rain, and it completely destroyed everything. So the whole smashing. So now we have breaks, destroys, smashing, tortured heart, broken parts. But then this is the part that's sad, guys. So it says, once I fix me, he's gonna miss me. So she's blaming it on herself. She's saying, I'm the reason why he's leaving. I'm the reason why all this stuff has happened. If I could only fix myself, then he would be okay. If I could fix myself, then maybe I could help him and fix him too. So then we could stay together and play for keeps this time, like she said earlier. Because we belong together. We fit too right. Just say when I'd play again. He was my best friend. Down at the Sandlot, I felt more when we played pretend than with all of the Kens. So she was fine living in this fantasy, which here's like the big controversy, which is why I said it with her birth chart. Everyone says that she's a Scorpio rising or a Capricorn rising, and you guys are both wrong. She is actually a 1 degree in Aquarius, but having that 1 degree in Aquarius puts her Scorpio at her midheaven, which is why people see her as Scorpio, because she is. Midheaven represents your career, who you are in the spotlight, as your reputation, as your legacy. That's all midheaven. That's all Scorpio. And the whole pretending part, this is Pisces. And where does she have Pisces? In her second house. Second house is about the material world. And I have the same thing. So I really understand this, that she felt more. So feeling is about like the water sign Pisces, right? Feeling more when we played pretend than with all of the Ken. So with all the other guys that were actually real, it didn't matter, because I'd rather have this fantasy pretend world with you because it feels right. But turns out it's all fake. It's just a fantasy that I have to move on now, because now that things were heating up, you felt threatened. You felt that how did she say it? There was danger in the heat of my touch. He saw forever, so he smashed it up. Moving on after the Ken's part. 'Cause he took me out my box, stole my tortured heart, left all these broken parts, told me I'm better off, but I'm not. I'm not. Oh my gosh, I got chills reading that. So he played with her. He played with her heart, took it away, and said, you're better now. Like, you're going to be better without me. But she's like, I'm not. Like, all I am is broken now because of you. And then we move on to down bad. But that's going to have to be for next time. So come back for that. All right. So I hope that you enjoyed these first 3 tracks. And there'll be plenty more where this came from. But I have listened to this album for 2 weeks straight. And I have gone through this multiple times. And now that I'm going line by line out loud, I'm getting it even more. And how brilliant she is, and how poetic she is, and how incredible this piece of art is. The last thing that I want to say before I close is a lot of people have been saying that this album has been healing for them. And I think it's because she's getting at the root of the real emotions. And she's not afraid to shine her light on it. So I said it before, she is a Sagittarius sun. So and it's in her 11th house, which is the house of community. So it's us, you know? She is shining her light on us, and we feel like we're all in dark. Everybody feels like they're all in darkness in relationships, to be honest. And so her shining her light and showing all these different ways that relationships can and can't work is healing for us, because she's being authentic. There's nothing fake about this. And she talks about the times that she had to be fake, or the fakeness that occurs in her life. And she's saying no more. And that's where the song I Hate It Here, comes in. But we'll talk about that in another episode. So I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.